Are you watching Facebook Live from there too, Theo?
I can't. I was just texting Marty, how will take, but I looked up and he was.
All right, I think we're live. Cool. So Laura, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited. I've been so pumped to kind of sit down and do this with you. We've been talking about this whole live concept of Storytellers for some time now, and I think you're the absolute perfect guest to start with on this. So
awesome.
Yeah. So with every episode of Storytellers, we kind of, again, start at the top here. Let's maybe tell us your story for people that don't know you from a hole in the ground. And I find that hard to believe now with our followers because we've been promoting the heck out of you here for the last few weeks. But start at the top. Tell us your story.
Yeah. So I could tell my story in a way that sounds like I had a strategy and I had a plan and I executed on all of it. But the truth is, my story is really one of left turns and right turns and U-turns. And I say that because I think so many people watch things like this and they go, oh my God, she has it all together. Like she's got her shit together. That's awesome. And I don't, and I can never do it. So I want like a full disclaimer, like I don't have my shit together. Like none of us ever shit together. So my story is that I thought I was going to be the first female United States Senator from the great state of Florida. And I was going to run for office and I was going to solve all the problems and I was going to change the world. And the way to do that back when I was thinking about it was through law school, right? You become a lawyer, you become a district attorney, you prosecute the bad guys, you help the good guys, and you make a name for yourself and your cathedral of all your good works. And then you get recruited and of course you run and you win, obviously, and then you serve. And then I got to law school and I realized that I actually hated law school. I was 6 weeks in and I was like, I have made a huge mistake. I don't like any of the people around me. I don't respect the students. I'm not interested in the subject matter. The teachers aren't inspiring. And so I did what anybody would do when you're in a position where you realize that you've made a huge mistake in your life. I dated a guy who was terrible for me. He was like one of those, he drove an IROC Z. He was like a big old muscle car. And
You're dating yourself now on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an old lady. But he said, listen, it's raining outside. I will give you a ride home, but first I will stick your bike in the back of my car. I used to ride my bike to class. But I want to stop by this guy's office. He's running for president. And this is, dating myself back in the day before the internet. So wow. If you wanted to find out somebody who's running for office, you wanted to find out what they cared about and where they stood on issues, you literally had to go to like a local campaign office and pick up literature. Mm-hmm. So I said, Governor who? From where? Arkansas? Not a chance in hell. So this guy had good taste in approximately two things, right? The first, obviously, being girlfriends.
Obviously, yeah.
But the second being unknown presidential candidates from tiny southern states with negligible electoral college prowess. And I walked into this campaign office and there in the corner was this video of Bill Clinton. And he was talking about, he was just impassioned and he was talking about how there was nothing that's wrong with America that can't be fixed with what's right with America. And he offered as a policy proposal, national service. This idea of community service in exchange for college tuition. And in that moment, like a lightning bolt, it hit me. It's no longer about how can I help and how am I going to solve all the problems, but that needs to happen. How do we put the right people in the right place so that the right ideas get implemented? So I dropped out of law school. I joined the campaign, yada, yada, yada. I end up working in the White House office that creates the AmeriCorps program, the National Service Program. I was a political appointee. I worked for 4 years. Loved every minute of it. I was so young and so idealistic that I didn't even realize that we could fail. And so, you just throw everything that you have at it. It was like entrepreneurship 101. You just have this idea and you bring it. And at the end of 4 years, I wanted to go back out on the campaign trail. And I said to my boss, I'm ready to, go do stuff. And he said to me, and only the way like a father figure mentor can say to you, you're kind of too old to get back on a campaign bus and eat cold pizza and sleep in, high school gymnasiums. and you're kind of too young to be the domestic policy advisor. So go talk to my friend Arnie Miller. He runs the biggest search firm in the nonprofit sector, and he'll find you a job in the nonprofits. You'll hide out for 4 years, and then you'll come back and do something big on the Gore campaign and Al Gore's campaign. And I said, great, sounds good. And 5 minutes to that conversation with Arnie Miller, I realized his office was in Boston. And the guy that I'm dating now, who P.S. does not drive an IROC Z, right? I end up marrying, I've been married to him for 20 years. He's about to move to Boston. And I think to myself, that's interesting. This office is in Boston. I should come work for you. And he said, you should come work for me. And he offered me a job. And I said, great, I'll take it. What do you do? And I became a headhunter. Yeah. So I became a headhunter, and I worked for him for 5 years. And I really learned from the best and the brightest how to do this work in a way that was incredible. Except I was frustrated by the business model. And I walked into his office one day and I was like, I've got a great idea. We could do this work with more profit and more integrity and more flexibility. And it's better for us, and it's better for our clients, and it's better for everybody. And yay. And he said, nay. And I basically had a choice where I could say, I realize that I'm not part of the solution, like I thought I was, which means I'm part of the problem. So I can either stay here in the problem or I can leave. So I left and I started my own company. I was 11 months pregnant with my oldest child. P.S. Really bad time to start a company when you're about to give birth to your firstborn. Yep. But I did. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to do it better. I was going to have more impact. I was going to have more flexibility. I was going to make more money. I was going to do it my way, to the quality standards that I thought my clients deserved. So I started my firm, and we can talk all about this, in this interview, but I was about as scrappy as you could possibly be. I did it for 15 years. 10 years into it, I realized that I hadn't learned anything new in a while. And I was kind of getting a little bored. I liked innovating and solving big problems, and I wasn't doing that anymore. So I turned to my business partner and I said, I need a plan. 5 years after that, I walked out the door selling the business to my people. And then I got asked to do a TEDx talk. And that TEDx talk got some attention. That attention got me offers to speak for money. And I was like, wait, this is a job? You can actually do this job? And so I started speaking. I was getting paid to speak, and I was noticing that everybody around me who was speaking had a book. And I thought I should probably have a book too. So I started writing this book, and now I'm 3 years into this new career of speaking and writing, and I'm on this crazy book tour. And yeah, that brings us up to today.
That's awesome.
Is that for a rambling introduction?
That's good. That's good. It's an incredible story. But to backtrack a little bit, so you mentioned when you had your executive search firm, from year 10 to year 15. Mm-hmm. And maybe before I get into this, we'll briefly mention your book, and then we're going to go into more detail in a minute. But your book, Limitless, I know anybody that's been following us on Facebook, we've been giving away a copy a day for the last 10 days.
Awesome.
The whole concept there is to not be content with status quo, and to, your vision of success doesn't necessarily have to match everybody else's vision of success. Is that a really quick and dirty way to maybe sum it up?
Yeah. I mean, over the course of the 20 years of doing executive search, I talked to people that were at the top of their game. They were super successful, which is of course why I was talking to them. Right. Yep. But they weren't happy, which is why they were taking my calls and talking to me. And I was so interested in this idea that even though we go through and check off all the boxes along everyone else's path to everyone else's definition of what success should be, once we get there, we have this great life, and we look down and we're like, all right, so I built this great life. I'm successful. Why aren't I happy? I was interested that success didn't always equal happiness. And what I started to think about was, in my own career and in the thousands of people I interviewed, who was successful and happy, and what actually made them that way. And so the book is written for people to define success, not from other people's version of it, but what actually matters to them, so they can go after that and then be happy in that success.
Absolutely, which has kind of brought me to you in the first place. I mentioned that in the launch there, that I've again been in business about 12 years now, and late last year I kind of had that same sort of feeling, is this all there is? I wasn't feeling challenged, I wasn't feeling there, and I got to give you a ton of credit. The sessions I've had with you are absolutely life-changing. So
thank you.
I can't thank you enough for that. But to backtrack a little bit into your story and your progression there. So year 10 in your own business there, rocking and rolling, you're top of your game. What motivation or what did you do to kind of carry you through those 5 years? What were the major changes that you had to make to actually still somewhat be fulfilled, to actually show up to work every day?
Oh, well, it's such an interesting time because I at the 10-year mark, when I turned to my business partner and I said I wanted to go, it was almost like she went through all the stages of grief. Like the first there was denial. You're not really going to leave. You've been doing this forever. This is your baby. You created it. Then there was anger. There was negotiation. There was, conversation about like, well, what if we created this little program and you could just go do that thing and we can get rid of all the stuff you don't like. And there was a moment where I turned to her and I said, look, I'm leaving. I'm either going to leave well or I'm going to leave badly, but I'm leaving. Like it is at this point, it is a self-preservation. I have to do something else. I don't know what it's going to be, but when you are the CEO of your company, and you and I talked about this, it is your job to be 18 to 24 months ahead of the market. You are envisioning and creating solutions to problems that the market doesn't even realize it has yet. That's your job as CEO. Yep. Your people's job is to think about this hour, this week, this month, and maybe if you're lucky, this quarter. Like, how do I deliver to my clients right now the things that they want? So when we walk in, and we give them this big annual review, talk about the great places we're going to go in 2024. They're like, it's like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. They don't care because it doesn't focus here. And so for 10 years of running the company, we grew 100% every year for 10 years. I was innovating and we were changing and we were building. And when my business partner came on board, she helped really improve quality. And here's the thing. I didn't care about the day-to-day management. I was really good at being the leader, about being the champion, about being the iconoclast that's out there telling the market that it should be done differently. And my business got to the point where my people basically were like, can we just take this car out on the road and see how fast we can drive it? Like, can stop fucking tinkering with the engine already. Like, we just want to go. Yeah. And I didn't care about driving. I liked the drawing board, right? Like I knew it could go fast. I didn't need to go out there. I was confident that it could go fast. I didn't need the wind in my hair to tell me that, but they wanted to do that. And what I realized is when I turned to my business partner, I said, look, I'm leaving either way. And by the way, the company doesn't need my kind of leadership anymore. We've spawned so much competition now because the markets realize that we were right in the way that we do this work. What this company needs as leadership is you. You're the one who loves managing the people. You're the one who loves the day-to-day growing of quality and execution. I don't care about that stuff. We don't need a champion. We need we need a manager. And that's really what she does so well. And I think once we realized that it wasn't that I just wanted to leave, it was that the company needed something different. And we were executive recruiters, right? This is what we did. We looked at organizations and we said, what does success look like in 18 to 24 months? And what kind of leader will help get you there? I said, this is what success looks like for our business. And I'm not the leader to help get us there anymore. It should be you now. Yeah. So what brought me in every single day was this specifically. Everything that I've ever created in my life still exists. And I'm really proud of that. I spend a lot of time building institutions and not building cathedrals. I could have run that company all day, every day, and died in the chair. Yeah. I could have mailed it in. It would have been fine. Like, there are annoyances and I'm running faster and faster on the treadmill, but 80% of what I do, I knew how to do. It wasn't hard. But it didn't matter to me anymore. It would have become a cathedral. And for it to remain an institution, it needed to be passed on to the kind of person who should run it. So what brought me back every single day was this knowledge that if I can transition it well, then it remains an institution. If I can continue serving the company and the idea more even of the company for the clients that we've been trying to serve, then it remains an institution. And I knew that it was my responsibility to send it off into the world as its own thing. So that's what brought me back in, was just this knowledge that I wanted it to remain an institution and not a cathedral.
Built the groundwork and stuff for that. So flash forward then 5 years. Tell us about the moment in time where you said, fuck it, I'm done. I hit my wall. I've had enough. this is the time that it basically validated that I need to try something different. I need to go somewhere else. What was that aha
So the
moment?
fuck it, I'm done moment actually came a couple years earlier. And here's what happened. So when I finally convinced her that I was really going to leave, this is probably 2 years into the 5 years, we hired a consultant and we did a valuation of the company. And the valuation of the company came back with a pretty big number. Now, professional services firms are really difficult to sell, right? Like when the principal leaves, like, is the company still going to be worth it? Is it not?
Yeah.
It's really hard to know that, right? Like the product that we're selling is in our brains.
Yep.
You know, like it's hard to value that. And we all sort of took a breath and we swallowed hard. And she said to me, we don't have the cash to pay you that because we try to finish every year with zero. So, you know, we pay less taxes. We don't have the cash to pay you. And I'm not going to take out a personal loan to do this. We could just shut the company down. And then the rest of us could restart it as a different company and be just fine. Like, why should we pay you this?
Yeah.
And I kind of got my panties in a bunch, you know. I it was a real blow to my ego because I thought I started this company, I built this company. None of y'all were here for the first 5 years or so, and I wasn't even paying myself. Like it was sweat and tears and blood, and it was awful. And I deserve it, right? Like I had this whole, I deserve it, I'm worth it, and I got my ego all mixed into the whole thing. And then I turned to my husband after I'd been, you know, like awake from 2 to 5 a.m. every night for 2 weeks. And he was like, what the heck? What's going on? So I told him the whole story at like 4 a.m. one day. And he said, you know, you never ran the company for maximum profitability. Like you ran it for enough money, right? Like there's the want to make number and the need to make number. And the need to make number is I need to pay my rent. I got to like, you know, whatever. I want to buy a new car. I got to send the kids to school, whatever the stuff is. And then there's the want to make number, which is the like, I don't really want to go to the Holiday Inn for vacation. I want to go to the Four Seasons, right? I don't want to fly coach. I want to fly first class. And somewhere in between there is where you want to be, right? You got to get the need to make number, but you want to. And he said, you know, you've never run the company for maximum profitability. Why are you selling it for that? He's like, that's the reason that you're having organ rejection of this because this is not who you are. He's run the company the entire last 10 years for maximum flexibility in your life and maximum impact in the world. How can you sell the company with that in mind?
Interesting concept. Yeah.
It was a really interesting concept. So I called my business partner the next day and I was like, listen, we have to figure this out. Like we have to figure this out because the sector needs this company to exist. The sector needs you to be doing the amazing work that you do. And we've built a platform that I feel like we owed it to our people who left these, you know, big brick and mortar, you know, very, you know, high level firms to go join our like merry band of entrepreneurship, not knowing what was going to happen year to year. Like I feel like we owed it to them. So the moment where she said, I don't know if we can pay you. We might not. We might just shut this down. That was when I was like, fuck it. I'm out of here. I can't. I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, God damn it. You forget 5 years. But then when I called her up and we had this conversation, what we actually came to was an incredible agreement whereby I sold them the firm for $1. $1 plus. So then it wouldn't be a taxable event for them, right? But you have like a business transaction. So, you know, money changes hands. Actually, that dollar right there is the dollar.
Never noticed that.
That dollar and a percentage of revenue for the following 5 years. Because as the founder, you know, we had consultants work for us and they said, look, 5 years is about the amount of time that a founder can say, I can put my fingers on success. After that, you know, whatever, it's your old news. So it was $1 plus a percentage of revenue for the following 5 years, as long as they showed even $1 of profit. So that really insured them. So like if I left and things went south, they didn't owe me any money until things started going north again. Or if I left and everything fell apart, then, you know, fine. That's on me as a CEO that I didn't build a strong enough foundation before I left.
Absolutely.
So I had skin in the game. They had skin in the game. Everybody was happy. And it turns out I'm now in year 4 of the 5-year payout. And it turns out I actually think I'm going to make more money than if I would have sold it to them, you know, for that check when I left.
Awesome.
So it really meant that I had to take my ego and really, really like shove it under the rug. It was difficult. It was far more emotional for them than I anticipated,
Yeah.
and actually far more emotional for me in completely different ways than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So now let's flash forward to today. So you took the leap, you wrote the book, which is fantastic. What's it feel like? So you basically conquered another mountain. Tell me what that feels like.
Yeah. So, I've been calling it Wonder Hell. Have I described my concept of Wonder Hell to you?
No, I haven't heard that.
Oh, okay. So, and this is a preview because I think this is going to be my next book. So
Good.
you're all hearing it here
There
first.
we go, exclusive.
Here you go. I was on a plane, a red eye, on the way back from Vancouver after giving a talk at the Art of Leadership for Women.
Yeah.
And this was like big talk, 3,000 people. Malala was the keynote. Like there was 5 speakers and I was the 4th and Malala was the 5th, right? Like I can't miss that. Like that's amazing. Bought 500 books and gave it out to audience VIPs. And then the next morning at 10 a.m. was my goddaughter's bat mitzvah. So I can't miss that, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't miss it. So I have to take a red eye, and I never take red eyes because I'm too old for that shit. Like it's terrible.
I did it one time from Vegas. It's a tough one. Yeah.
Oh my God. A red eye from Vegas is the worst. That's that's like, you want to take a shower when you get off that plane. That's maybe Purell your whole body. I'm sitting at the gate, and at the very last minute, they're like, sorry, we've had some mechanical difficulties. We're going to switch the plane out. They switch the plane out, and my beautiful lie flat first class seat becomes a bolt upright center seat. So I'm on the plane and I'm trying to sleep, and I can't. I'm not falling asleep. So I open up my laptop and I start writing. It's 4:28 a.m. or maybe it's 7:28 a.m. or maybe it's 1:28 a.m. I have completely lost track, but I know that somewhere between the blur that was yesterday and the blur that will be tomorrow is the space I'm in right now, which is, this middle, horrible, non-reclining seat on my flight from Vancouver across the country to Boston. And where I am right now is Wonder Hell. This is the spot that I'm in. And so Wonder Hell is, I am so humbled and honored and thrilled that anyone wants to spend even 5 minutes reading this book that I wrote or listening to my story. Like it's wonderful. It's truly wonderful. And also, I've never been so tired in all of my life. It's hell. I mean, I've run 3 marathons and had 2 children. Like I started companies. Like I'm exhausted. I've learned how to do like TV makeup to put the spackle on because it's just, I landed last night at 10 p.m. from LA, and I'm taking off today at 4:00 to go to New York City. And then I'm home for a day, and then I go to Denver for 3 days, and then I'm home. I mean, it's like, it's endless. It's amazing. But here's the thing about Wonder Hell. Wonder Hell is the space in your ego where the burden of potential walks in and unpacks its shit, right? It walks in and it sets up a cot. And on that cot, it's like, here I am.
Yeah.
You've got potential. This idea that you had that you thought was just an idea and you thought maybe had legs. It turns out it has wings. So what the fuck are you going to do with it, huh? What are you going to do? And here's the thing about the burden of potential. The burden of potential is as big as your ego. And what I learned about myself in the process of this book launch, I was a very accidental CEO. I never meant to be in the spotlight. I didn't plan on being a speaker. Like I suddenly have this life that puts me front and center. But the truth is I'm a raging introvert, and I like stand in the corner of every party, and like people come to me and that's fine. And then I have like an introvert stroke and I just have to go home. And I like ghost. So the fact that I have this life and I'm living in the public eye is crazy. But what I realize about myself is that I have a huge ego. I didn't realize I had such a big ego. And they say, like, if you name it, you can tame it. But I say, screw that. Like, if you name it, you can claim it. I'm like, my ego is like Super Soul Sunday Oprah big. It's Reese Witherspoon book club big. Like, I want to be on national TV big. Like, this is the thing that I was writing about. And since then, I've been on the Today Show and Good Morning America and Good Morning Canada and all this stuff. But it's this crazy thing where you're like, you know what? I'm not even going to apologize for the fact that I have this big ego, because what I realized is I have a message, and that message is resonating with people, and that resonation, that the resonance of that message is actually changing people's lives. And so when you say to me things like it changed my life, I feel responsible. Like I better get this shit right, because I have people who come up to me. I had somebody who came up to me at a party last week, and she was like, I read the first half of your book and I quit my job. And I was like,
Wow.
You should read the other half
Yeah,
first.
right.
I mean, I had somebody who tattooed the cover of the book on their arm because they
Cool.
believe so much in the message. So, that's where I am right now, and how I feel right now is this like moment of, oh, I conquered another mountain. But when I got to the top of that mountain, I realized there's like 16 other mountaintops that I can see from here that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so in the DNA of us as entrepreneurs that you're like, okay, I solved that problem. What's the next one? Like, I don't want to do that again. I'm ready for the next thing.
So on that, obviously you got as much energy as I do when you're rocking and rolling and go doing what you're doing, but how do you avoid burnout? And what are some tips? Because I've experienced it, I'm sure you've likely experienced it at some point in time. A lot of these people that we've talked about in this series, they've at some point in time get hit with it. But I would say you're just as busy or busier than absolutely anybody I've ever met. So what are some tips there?
Well, I mean, I think I avoid burnout because I know what matters to me, right? Like, I think people get burned out when they're just running faster and faster on the hamster wheel
Yeah.
about something they don't care about. So if you're sitting in your office and people are giving you drive-bys about all that crap, we've talked about this, that you don't really care about, of course you get burned out because your energy is being used, it's being sucked from you, but it's not actually moving your calling forward. And so, in the book, I talk about finding your calling, this thing that matters to you. And it could be building a business. It could be saving the world. It could be buying a Maserati and a beach house. Like, I'm not going to purpose shame anyone. Whatever your purpose is your purpose. But if people are coming by and they're like, can I pick your brain? Can I just ask you a question? You got 2 minutes, can I get your advice? And what you want to be doing is focused on the next big mountain that you want to climb, but you're like busy at base camp helping people make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You still use the same number of calories, but you haven't made any progress.
Yeah.
So I think I avoid burnout because I am laser focused on my calling, on the thing that I care about. And I make sure that the work that I do every day is actually connected to that calling. Like, if I look at, Steve Jobs said, if you wake up and you look at your calendar and there's nothing that causes you joy, it's a bad day. And if you look at it 3 days in a row and there's nothing that causes you joy, you better change some things. I think that's probably right, but I would go a little bit further. And I would say, if you look at your calendar for 3 or 4 days in a row and you realize that nothing that you're doing is actually moving your calling forward, then I think you're just distracted. Whether it's you distracting yourself with the easy things, the candy, the inbox zero.
Yeah, the brain dead things. Yep.
Right. Like, you feel like you're making progress. You've checked things off your
Because you're busy. Yeah.
You're busy. So, like, what's on your to-do list? What's on your calendar? And what's on your list of dreams?
Yeah.
And do they match? And if they don't match, then you're going to get burned out. But if they do match, then that just creates this vortex of energy that just continues to refill your tank.
Absolutely.
So how do I not get burned out? I don't do the dumb shit that is irrelevant.
Talk about, in your book, you talk about the term consonance. Can you explain to everybody what you mean by that and how you can go about achieving something like that?
So, Matt, those moments when everything that you love to do, that you do really well, is being called upon to solve a problem at hand, a problem that you actually care about, a big, meaty, interesting problem, and you're being rewarded for it in a way that is karmically or psychically or financially, emotionally, whatever it is, meaningful to you.
Absolutely.
That's consonance.
Yeah.
When you are in alignment, when you're in flow, when everything you do matters to you, when the what you do matches the who you are. Those are those moments when you're like when you when you leave a meeting about a new project and you're so excited about it and you're driving back to your office and you can feel your heartbeat beating on the hood of your car. You just can't wait to get back and jump into it.
3 months out. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Those are the moments. That's consonance. And I feel that when people are in the state of consonance and they are when they're there in a way that it's meaningful to them, then that's when success equals happiness. And so I talk about in the book that it's made up of 4 factors. So each of us at every age and every life stage want these factors different. And your version of consonance and my version of consonance will be completely different. Yep. But the key is that your version of consonance when you were 22 is different than 42 is different than 62. Yep. So I think part of the problem is that we graduate from high school or from college and we're like, okay, I've got a trade, I've got a major, I've got a path. I'm going to stick to this forever. And the problem is that when we graduate from high school and college and we make these big, massive life altering decisions, we don't have a frontal lobe. It's not fully formed. Like the frontal lobe in your brain is the part of your brain that determines good decision making. So we like pick these directions and then we go on them and we're like, oh, I can't change because sunk cost. Got to keep going. People are going to talk about me. They're going to call me a failure. What if I change? What if I don't? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Henny penny. The truth is no one cares. No one's paying attention. And you made that decision before you literally had the brain capacity to make a good one. Yeah. So the book is laid out to talk about the 4 elements of calling, connection, contribution, and control that will give you your personal rubric of consonants.
Cool. So in regards to that, I've listened to a pile of podcasts and interviews that you've done, obviously. You mentioned, I know you're talking directly to somebody that is maybe unfulfilled in their career, their life, and want to make a change. As an employer, what are some things we can do to help our teams and our staff kind of feel fulfilled and, instead of hoping they run off and go chase the dream there, keep them within the organization and keep them growing from within as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've talked to a number of speakers bureaus about booking me for gigs, and I talk to them about Limitless, and they're like, oh, I don't know if we can book you because if we book you for a corporate gig, you're going to get on stage and you're going to tell people how to be limitless and they're going to quit their jobs.
Yeah, right.
And it turns out that most people don't quit their jobs. Most people figure out a way to actually become more engaged in the work they're doing. Yep. So only 1/3 of the workforce in the United States, and I would imagine that this probably is similar in Canada, considers themselves actively engaged in their work. Like only 1/3. Wow. Yeah. We also know that engaged workers are 22% more efficient and profitable for their companies. So imagine if 2/3 of your staff at any time is not engaged. Imagine what that does to your bottom line. But Absolutely. What we do is we go to our team and we say, well, I know you care about prestige. I know you care about title. I know you care about the mission of the organization, the skills you're going to learn, what this is going to look like on your resume. I know you care about money, right? And we throw money at them, or we put a ping pong table, in the break room, or we put kombucha on tap, or like whatever that is. And that they don't care, right? They don't care. So we throw money at our squeakiest salespeople and we say, that's going to keep you happy. And then 6 weeks later, 3 months later, they turn up in our office with this what have you done for me lately face, right? And you're like, dude, I took less money to give you more money and now you're not happy. Or they blindside you by leaving for your competition, or you stare across the annual review, this yawning chasm, and you're like, I know that they have a heartbeat in there. I just don't know how to get more out of them. Like, why can't I inspire them? And it's because we're throwing this old scorecard at them, thinking it's all about money. Right? It's all about growth. Like the person who's an associate should be a senior associate, and then should be a junior vice president, and then should be a vice president. And maybe they don't care. Maybe your associate just wants to be an associate forever because they can come in, it's 9 to 5, they can do what they want to do, and then they can leave to go do whatever their hobby is on the side, or they can start their family, or they could do anything. And I think once we have the conversation with our team, not just about this external idea of success, lean in. The fastest, most expedient path to the corner office is the only one that matters. And if you're not on that path, then clearly you don't care about this job. Yeah. It turns out not everybody cares about that. Not everybody is on this earth to be Sheryl Sandberg, right? Not everybody wants to do this lean in thing. And when we don't allow them to talk about their whole life and who they are everywhere holistically, then we're basically putting a muzzle on them. So we're not actually seeing what they care about. So what we find out is that the person who we keep throwing money at, who keeps throwing up in our office unhappy, what they really care about is making impact in the world. Then we should create a philanthropic committee, and rather than throwing money at them, let's give them a budget so that they can give money in the local community. And suddenly the job is more meaningful to them because it becomes a way where they can manifest those values on a daily basis. Or if what they care about is staying in the same position and they want more flexibility to raise their family, well, let's make sure they get out of that office every day at 4:30 to pick that kid up at 5 o'clock at daycare. And when we let them know that we're going to make sure that this work allows them to build the life they want, then they're going to give us more when they're in the office. So there's all kinds of ways where if we can have a conversation about consonants with our employees, then in fact we can open up, we can unlock the conversation so that we can figure out what really matters to them instead of just blindly in the dark, the tail on the donkey.
Do you think that has evolved at all over the years? Like with, I'm not going to say the M word, but younger generation coming in and whatnot. Do you think bosses are starting to pay attention to that more versus, I'm going to say, the old way of doing things where we just throw money at the problem and carry on?
Yeah, I will say the M word because millennials will make up 75% of the workforce by 2025.
Yeah.
75%.
Wow. Yeah.
And I actually gave a talk once where the executive vice president for HR at Accenture came up to me afterwards. And, Accenture, right? Global firm. She's like 75% by 2025. They're already 75% of our firm. But here's the thing, the oldest millennials, like 38, 39 years old, like they're not like eating Hot Pockets in the basement playing video games, like they're
Absolutely.
actually, they've got families, like they've got mortgages, they're grown ass people.
Full of millennials here, yeah.
Absolutely. But we talk about them as if they're like sucking their thumb and whining all day long. And I love millennials. I actually talk about them really nicely in my book, and millennials come up to me after my speeches all the time. We're like, thank you, finally, for saying something good about them.
Someone's on our side, yeah.
But I will always have somebody, a crotchety old Gen Xer like me who's in the audience. It's like, but how do I talk to my millennials? Because I'm trying to engage them, but they don't seem to care. And I'm like, because they don't care about what you're talking about. They don't care about that scorecard. They want to know, how does this company manifest my values into the work, into the universe right now? Like, are there, like, what are we doing? What are the products that we're creating? What are the materials we're using? What are the employment practices that we're doing? What are the kinds of conversations we're having? They want to know, does this work mean something? Millennials want their work to matter. And millennials are the first generation that have totally lived their lives out loud. They've been on social media since birth. Yeah. So they've never had work-life balance because everything's always been integrated. So they're not looking for balance, they're looking for alignment. So I think being able to have a conversation as a boss and not just trying to throw money at them, because that's not what's interesting. They want to know, I'm an avid hiker, I'm an avid outdoors person, I want there to be healthy snacks in the break room. Those are the things that they care about. They don't just want, it's not just about the numbers on the page. Obviously they care about the numbers, but they're not looking for the same things we are. And so if we continue to do things the old way, then it's not going to work for them.
Yeah. I love all this stuff. And I know that a lot of this stuff is hopefully new to people that are watching this. And we've had the opportunity to go through this in full detail again. But what I want to do now is maybe take a little bit of a turn and talk about one of the key areas within this Storyteller series is really telling people about success and helping them kind of define that. And again, when you talk about your book, it's a perfect hand in hand. But for you personally, how do you define success right now? And how has that maybe changed from 10 years ago?
Oh boy. You would think that I would have a well-crafted answer to this, since I wrote a whole book about success. For me, success really is being able to wake up every day and ask myself, am I able to show up as the best version of myself for the people that I love and the causes I hold dear? And professional success is, and does my career allow me to do that? Does it enable me? Does it increase my ability to do that? Yeah. And I think if it's not doing that, then I may be finding success is defined by other people, big titles, big stages, best-selling book, lots of money, whatever those things are. Okay. But if I'm doing all of that and I'm never seeing my kids, I told you briefly my like 6-day travel schedule, which is completely insane. But I also was able to get home last night in time to, spend some time with my husband. I was able to have a breakfast date with my son this morning and take him to a drawing class that he's doing. On the way there, we talked about how we're going to have a dinner date on Friday night when I get back. And I'm able to be present because the career that I've created, it puts me on the road a lot. But when I'm not on the road, I'm, sitting at my desk wearing a pair of jean cutoff shorts, and I'm, like as I actually am right now, down below the, adult look. So for me, success means having some ownership over the flexibility My success, like in the contribution pile, column of my consonants, is really being able to manifest my values, doing work that matters to me, and having the personal flexibility. Even if I turn down some gigs and I'm not maximizing profitability every single step of the day, I'm still, again, maximizing impact, maximizing flexibility. And I know that if I do those things, then future money is always there.
Absolutely.
I can always pull that lever whenever I want. So success is being able to show up as the best version of myself right now, while also continuing to increase optionality in the future.
That's one of you hit on that for a second there. That's one of the biggest things I've realized over the last 3, 4, 5 months even, is think about the long game. The short-term stuff, it's going to come and go. What happens today really in the grand scheme of things isn't the end of the world. But when you think about, being a millennial, we still got lots of years left to plug away and carry on, just like you. Maybe making decisions for the long term instead of just that quick, quick sort of gift. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times we take what's happening right now and today as the new normal. Like, it's always going to be like this. Oh my God, this is terrible. But it's never like that, right? Like, the world changes around us. And as we grow and we change, we get to see things that we might want. And, when I first started my career, success was going to be being, elected to the United States Senate.
Yeah.
Right now, if you ask me, like, I'll wave a magic wand and you could be a senator, I would run screaming. I'd set my hair on fire, right? Like, the version of what I thought would be successful when I was 48, when I was 22, is not anywhere near what success actually is for me today.
Yeah.
And I think that when we get caught up in the short-term stuff, and it's like every day is a problem, we forget that we're not going backwards, right? So we stop looking forward, and we get so caught up in the yesterday that we don't maximize our today, and certainly not our tomorrow.
Yeah. So on that topic, success here, let's say, and we've worked on this, and I know you've done that. You decide that my new definition of success is different today than it was yesterday. Today's the day I say, fuck it, I'm going this route.
Yeah.
We start carrying down that path. You start running, selling the business of the employees, and writing a book.
Burn the ships.
Burn the boats, yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, you're going to come across some self-doubt, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
How do you navigate that? Because obviously the safe way is just to continue down the path you're already on. You know what to expect. You know what your tomorrow's going to look like. When you start to, realign your path and your direction, how do you, and what sort of advice can you give to people that are going to undertake this? How do you maintain that course and not just go to the comfortable area after the first 2 weeks when it doesn't work out for you?
Yeah, well, I think anticipating, there is going to be shit that will hit a fan at some point. Anticipating that that's going to happen, and understanding that failure is not finale. Right? I talk about this in the book a lot. Failure is not finale; it's fulcrum. And as adults, we get hired and we get paid and we get praised and we get promoted by living in the center of our excellence, by getting hired because we showed competence in one thing and then doing that forever.
Absolutely.
Rather like shoot myself in the head than continue to do that forever and ever. But some people love it, and that's totally cool if that's their definition of success. But our kids, if you think about your kids, like when you go to parent-teacher conferences and the teacher sits you down and they start telling you all the things that are challenging your child, you think, oh my God, they're never going to move out of my basement. I'm stuck with them forever, right? They're like a total, disaster. But then you realize, like, oh, actually, this is exactly what they're supposed to do. Like, they took algebra, now it's time for trigonometry. You take trigonometry, it's time for geometry. You got that? It's like, whoa, calculus in the house, right?
Yeah.
They are constantly failing and iterating and learning and growing. And as entrepreneurs, we do the same thing, right? Like, there's no dead ends. There's just different decisions we can make. And so I think if we start looking at failure as fulcrum and not finale, then we know that it's a path. Now, I gave this talk several months ago in Austin. And as soon as I said this, failure is not finale, it's fulcrum, I looked the stage left and an astronaut was in the front row. And this astronaut had gone on 3 spacewalks. And I was like, except for you, Commander Tim Chopra of NASA.
That's the real deal.
Failure for you would most definitely have been finale, but for the rest of us that are walking around on terra firma, breathing the oxygen in our regular cotton clothing, failure is just fulcrum. And how do you get past failure is you stop talking to all those people who are like failure confirmers. I don't know. I haven't really, I got
Things that don't matter, basically.
like catastrophe confirmers, right?
Yeah,
The ones
yeah.
that are like, oh yeah, that sucks. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that didn't work out.
Yeah.
You got to talk to people that are like, oh yeah, that sucks. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? What's the next? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn? Did you learn that success in this matters to you enough to fight harder? Or did you realize you didn't really care about it?
Yeah.
So I think that's about getting the right people around you. And I call them your family. It's like the combination of your friends and your family that know who you are today. Like, I've got a great family. My parents are wonderful. My sister is wonderful. But the last time I lived in the same house with them, I was 17 years old. And the person I was at 17, what I was capable of at 17 is not who I am today. And they don't really know me.
Yeah.
They don't really know what I can do. But the friends that I have that I've made as a grown ass woman are like, whoa, okay, you've got this inside you and that inside you. And so the combination of the love and the support and also the like, I see you and I know what you can do. And also it's okay to be ambitious, you know, like it's all right to want something big. That's cool. I think it's about having the right people around you who ask you the right questions, who don't let you settle for mediocrity.
And don't wait for you to fail. Like I've seen that a lot of those people in even my circle that you just, I told you that. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Just on that topic, I think that's probably the single best piece of advice you could give a new entrepreneur is don't be scared to fail. Go in there to fail because you're going to learn a hell of a lot more from that than just winning all the time, right?
Yeah, you know, they say entrepreneurship is not for the weak.
Oh yeah.
But I also think it's not for the strong either. I think it's for the flexible.
Yeah.
You know, like I was thinking about this morning and it was a post that you did that I was like, cause you like put your whole setup and you're up at like 4:30 in the morning and you're like, oh yeah, this is the real deal. And I was like, yeah. And I thought to myself, entrepreneurship isn't for the weak. And then I thought, well, but it's also not for the strong. Like you can't just go in like, I've got an idea and the world's going to bend to my way, period. The world might bend to your way, but your way might have to change a little bit in order to get there. And I really think that, you know, when I sold my company, I remember running into somebody on the street who I've known for a really long time. And she was like, what's going on? And I said, I just sold my company. I literally just signed the paperwork like an hour ago. And she's like, what do you do now? And I said, I don't know. And this look of like sheer panic came across her face. Like,
flip you a couple bucks for coffee. And
yeah, she was like, oh, great. And I think she was both terrified because she no longer had a box to put me in. She like I sprung out of the filing cabinet in her head and I was floating around and she didn't know what to do with me. And second, because I think the idea of just not knowing petrified her. So, you know, we tell people our hopes and our dreams and our imaginations and they give us these looks like, oh, and it's really their own like risk aversion, their own fear, their own anxiety, their own PTSD from failure and not recovering. And so, yeah, you got to surround yourself with people who don't look at your hopes and dreams through their own narcissistic lens of how it would affect them, but who really look at you and go, that's really cool. What would success in that mean to you? And not how can I help? What needs to happen in order for you to get there? And then they think about whether or not they have the right resources or network of knowledge for you. Yeah.
So I know we got to probably start wrapping this up because you said you got to catch a plane here shortly, but I got one more question and then we end every single Storytellers episode with a series of rapid fire questions. Now you're at a disadvantage because most of my other guests have seen them ahead of time, but I have them back for you. So the last question I want is, in terms of advice you could give to new people starting out, either down a similar path to you as, you know, wanting to be an author, a speaker, and that sort of thing, or starting a new business, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And what sort of advice could you give to, and maybe the same thing, pass along to new people kind of getting into this game?
Okay, so the best piece of advice I ever got, both personal and professional, was incredibly painful. And I think you and I talked about this. It is this: you're just not that important.
I use that term now almost every day. So.
I was so busy trying to be all things to all people. I was trying to be all in with my family, all in with my clients, all in with my staff, all in with the community organizations that I belong to. And it turns out I wasn't being anything to anybody. I was trying to be everything and I was nothing. And what this advice, what this woman, the advice that she gave me wasn't, you don't matter, you're not important, but it was, there are places in your life where you have these moments of impact where you better show the fuck up.
Yep.
Because oh boy, are you important there.
Absolutely.
And if you're distracted by all the rest of the, can I pick your brain and the drive-bys and you got a minute and can you help me change the toilet paper and all the rest of the garbage, then you're not showing up for those moments when only you can be the one who makes that impact. And so that really helped me clarify, like with a laser focus, if that's my calling, then is this work connected to it? Or do I need to say, no, thank you? That's the thing I would give to, that's the advice that I would, that's the best piece of advice that I've gotten, and I use that as like a true north, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
In terms of the advice that I would give, I would say nobody gets a vote about what success means in your life, but you. And you have to stop giving voices. You have to stop giving votes in your life to people who shouldn't even have voices.
Yeah.
I think what happens is we spend so much time, whether it's with friends and family or social media or, in business school or wherever it is that we're sort of seeding the ground. And we say, okay, success looks like the Ferrari and the private jet and the, hot spouse and the 2.5
Instagram models, the whole works. Yeah.
Right. And it turns out that all that shit's rented.
That's right.
None of that's real. But it also may be that what you love to do more than anything else is to go on fancy vacations in beautiful European cities. And that's going to cost a lot of money for you to jump on a plane and go away for the weekend. Maybe what you care about more than anything else is going off deep into the Canadian Rockies and waking up in the morning of a beautiful sunrise and cooking your eggs over the fire. That's not going to cost a lot of money, but it costs a lot of time. Yeah. So if you're building a business, are you building a business because you want to make a lot of money? Are you building a business because you want a lot of flexibility, right? There are reasons why you're doing this, and understanding what success means to you will help you not get caught up in we need to keep growing and growing and growing because growth is the only benchmark of success. It turns out that you might make more money or have more flexibility with a staff of 5 than a staff of 50. And it may be that you have more money and more flexibility if your top line is $5 million versus $10 million. Like it's just, every business is different and you're the only one who gets to decide that. And so you got to stay true to that.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Anything else before we get into the rapid fire? Any other piece of advice or tidbit you want to leave to our entrepreneurs in small town Ontario where we are right now?
Well, I would say, so there's a quiz. You've taken it, limitlessassessment.com. So if people are like, oh, this consonants thing sounds sort of interesting, but I don't really know where to start. You can go take this quiz at limitlessassessment.com. And it takes about 15 minutes. It's kind of intense. I'm sure your entrepreneurs have noticed that I'm kind of intense, so it's not surprising. So like strap in. But at the end of it, you'll get a beautiful radar chart that shows how much of each of calling, connection, contribution, and control you want to have in your life. And then another one, which hopefully overlaps somewhat, about how much you have in your life. And in the places where it doesn't overlap, you'll see that you need to work on that. And then there'll be some tips about how to do that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. This has been a blast. You ready for these ones?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm a little nervous.
There's usually 10. We put an extra one in for you. So you're a morning person or night hawk?
I'm a morning person.
What's your favorite book right now?
Limitless. No, actually, I just finished reading, it's on my desk right now, The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman, cool. Which is a great book. And it's all about how you can channel your inner superhero to show up in those moments of impact as the person that you really want to be.
Cool. Do you prefer to get your news on a device or the paper? Like,
I love the Sunday New York Times.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Paper?
I like the paper.
Yeah. What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Yeah, that's where I see you most.
Hey, LGO. Hey, LGO. That's me.
City life or country living?
City life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you experienced country living though? Do you get to?
I sort of fantasize about being here. One of those people that goes off the grid and just like wakes up on a farm, and then I realize there's bugs, and animals, and yeah, I don't know. I think I would like country living with the staff of city life.
There you go. What's one thing on your bucket list that's still on your bucket list? I know you've crossed off quite a few by now.
I want to race horses across Mongolia.
Wow. That's a big one. That's
I've never
definitely the first time I've heard that in those questions.
I saw a beautiful National Geographic spread about it, and it was just incredible, like staying in yurts, and it was like it was photojournalism at its most beautiful. And I have a fatal case of wanderlust, and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, I don't really know how to race horses, but
Yeah.
I know where Mongolia is. I
There you go. Yeah.
figure it
You have
out.
to go to the country first to learn how to race horses.
I
and then you go.
know. See, here we go. I'm sensing the flaw in my plan.
There you go. What's your biggest pet peeve?
When people are late.
Late?
When people are late. Yes. I grew up in a family where if you weren't 5 minutes early, you were late. And I feel like when someone is late, it just shows a disrespect of your time.
Couldn't
And
agree with you more.
it when people are unprepared, when they're late, when they don't value the gift of time that somebody else is giving.
Absolutely.
And conversely, nothing stresses me out more than when I'm running late. Like I get road rage, like post.
What's your favorite food?
I trail mix. I think I eat trail mix. I probably eat 2 pounds of trail mix every week. It's just always in my bag because I'm always on the run.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
I saw your Doberman. If anybody,
Yes.
go check out her social feed. She's got some awesome pictures with them.
I have a lemon of a dog, but she's my lemon.
Yeah. Clean desk or messy?
I would prefer a clean desk. It sometimes gets away from me, but I do believe that a clean desk is like a sign of an uncluttered mind.
Are you a zero inbox person too, or is that something you can let slide?
I am a zero inbox person.
I gave up on that 300 some odd emails ago.
You have to declare email bankruptcy. Just take them all and put them in a folder that says crap.
Yeah.
And then anything that's important enough, you'll go back in and find, but you can start fresh. Just declare email bankruptcy.
That's a great idea.
Thing in the mistake of inbox zero is that everyone tries to start with the inbox they currently have.
Yeah.
You haven't dealt with those emails from 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
You're never going to touch them. Just get rid of them. They're creating noise, right? These are the things that are causing burnout. They are sucking your energy, but they're not useful. Just declare inbox zero.
Yeah. Burn it.
Just do it. Just decide. You're in charge of your inbox.
There you go. The last question. What song do you want played at your funeral?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. There's a Willie Nelson song, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
Great tune.
I love that song, and it makes me cry every time I hear it, and I just love it. But I don't want people to cry at my funeral. I told my husband that no one's allowed to cry at my funeral. If they cry, he has to kick them out. I want it to be a celebration. I want people to tell the most ridiculous, most hilarious, most just outside stories about crazy adventures that we were on, or things that I talked them into, or bizarre stuff. And I want people to laugh. I want it to be a celebration of joy of life, because I feel like that's the point of these moments that we have, of weddings and of funerals and of reunions and of parties and all that, is to just take a moment and stop and say, holy fuck, we have this one big, juicy, amazing life. Let's lean into it with everything we have and what we care about. So that's I want my funeral to be an opportunity for people to come together and be like, yeah, she lived a great life. I want to live a great life. What am I going to change today to make that happen? Because I now understand the cost if I don't.
Still motivating after death. There you go. Thank you again so much, Laura.
My epitaph on my grave is going to be like, get the fuck on with it. Say, you're like, stop standing.
Why the fuck are you standing here? Get out.
Why the fuck are you standing here? Go. That's going to be on my, just playing.
Yeah. Thanks again. I appreciate it ever so much.
This is so fun.
Flight, safe travels. We'll be talking to you very soon, I hope.
All right. Yeah.
Laura, her book Limitless, and actually the first person to comment on our feed there, I'll give you this copy right here. We're down to the last couple in the office, but we'll keep going.
Awesome. Thank you. This was really, really fun.
I appreciate it so much. Thanks again.
Okay. See ya.
Take care.